If you're looking for how to change your EGR valve on your Dodge Journey or Fiat Fremont, this is the video for you. I'm going to be doing this on a 2009 Dodge Journey or the Fiat Fremont. It's okay, it's going to be step by step. So first thing we have to do with the hood open is take this cover off the engine. It's going to make it a little easier. On these four corners, there's kind of little clips. I'll show you how those go back together later. But there, if you just pull in the corners here a little bit, pull up a little bit, open that side, this side, pop it out. Get this cover out of the way. It's going to make it much easier to do this job. Set it somewhere where you won't trip over it. And the next thing we're going to do is these two clamps. Just a flat screwdriver will do it. They're hose clamps. It's just air that's going to these, so they're not going to leak. Nothing's going to come out of them. Take that one off, take this one off, and once we do that, we have the sensor to unplug. I don't know if it's a MAP sensor or MAF. Very bottom where my nail would be there. You push the bottom of this clip, not the top, and it should unclip there. Put that out of the way for now. We want to take this hose off as well. Again, nothing in it, it just is your air breather. Then these clips here for your air filter, just clip them your way, and you should be able to pull it off with the hoses off now. Kind of dirty looking. Give it a little tap there. Just, oh, look at the junk that's coming out. And our air filter. Ooh, it's got some dirt in it too. I'll have to clean that off. Now, it's a 10mm bolt holding this housing in. And it's a fairly long one, so you're going to be turning it for a little while, but that's okay. We'll speed this up, and we've got it out. Might as well see what kind of bolt this is, just in case you lose one. Always nice to know what the threads are and everything. So it looks like it's an M6-1.0. So if you lose one, that's what it is. About 2.5 inches or 6.35 centimeters in length. Because you can drop them somewhere and sometimes they go missing. They've got skippable chapters included on this. Here's the bolt we're going to be taking out that's holding the box down on the driver's side. There's actually two of them. Need a long extension to get at it. The socket is actually an E12. That's what it looks like. I guess you can try something else on it, but the E12 is really the proper one to these. And Dodge uses some of these. So there's actually a second one beside it as well. I didn't show taking that one off, but there's a second one there. It's hard to pull for some reason. And the reason is, well, there's a couple extra fasteners. This one, maybe not the one that, well, we need to take it off. That's not what was giving me the trouble. We'll try this one first. And this should pop out, but it started giving me trouble. It's like, what in the world? Well, it's already how many years old, right? So probably between dirt and everything getting stuck in there, this did not want to come off. It should just pop out. And then the whole thing should pop out. Or at least the centerpiece. And no, it was going to fight me. So I fought with it for a while. I won't bore you with the 2 minutes it took me probably to get this out. Really? Finally, I figured let's just spray it down with some WD-40, knock it back in, maybe get some of the dirt or whatever off it out, and then pop it out. And look, it wasn't that easy. Whoops. Yeah, that's the way it should come out. I'll have to make sure I get that other end. And good luck with all those pieces falling, huh? I did pick them up a little later. Now, the box is just about ready to come out, but I see there's still one more thing holding it, and it's a wiring harness here that's clipped onto this box. Now, there it is. I was thinking, do I need to pop that clip out? But no, if you get it from the top here, we see, give this a good wiggle. Might need a pair of pliers or something. This should just pop out. There, it's done. So I think we've got it all unhooked. We should be able to just pull it out and get it out of the way. Look at the stuff in there. Wow. I'm going to have to remember to clean that out. I'm not sure what the next step's going to be here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and move this out of the way just so I have a little more room. I don't know if you need to do this. You could always skip to the next chapter if you want. This is a 10mm bolt. There's only two things holding it down if you want to try and get this out of here. I used a long extension, pulled this first bolt out, and 10mm, and then there's one in behind here as well. I'll show you where it is. You can just see it right there. It's on a bracket. So if we get that out of the way, should work as well. Maybe I should kill the power here first. I'm going to undo the ground. And as I was doing it, it's like, well, the power's right there, the red. How come the cover's missing? Oh, I found there's a cover kicking around somewhere. It must have broke or something. I'm going to try and sit it back on there. Save us something horrible happening. I'm going to take this off, and this, if you lose it, it's an M10-1.5 is the thread. So, and it's a 15 millimeter bolt. I'm just going to set a rag in between the cable and the post, just then we don't have it accidentally come back on. Now back behind here, we see this 10 millimeter bolt as well. I used a ratcheting wrench to get it out of there. Like I say, you probably don't need to take this off, but I'm going to do it. It's going to help me film a little better too. This is, of course, another 10 millimeter. And should be able to just move that out of the way a little bit. Give me a little, maybe a little more room. Yeah. Give it a push this way, push that way. Take these hoses off. Try and tuck those out of the way. Now, 2 8 millimeter bolts in the top. This is a pipe that goes down to the EGR. I started using a ratchet, and then I figured I'm going to use a thumb ratchet because I thought it might be a little easier, a little less, or more, give me a little more room. And they were kind of tight. So, did that for a little bit. These are actually really handy to have. Once I got that one out, this one was really fighting me. So I thought, you know, I'm going to get my little ratchet out and do that. There's a tool link in the description, by the way, if you want to purchase any of these things. Now we're going to go below. This is from a little bit different angle. This is from the shooting from the driver's fender. 10 millimeter bolts. Doing the bottom of our EGR valve. There's 2 bolts there. On the bottom. That's kind of what they look like. We'll get that one and try and get this other one out again. A little tougher to get at. They're actually, that tube that we undid earlier goes into the bottom of this, but the bolts were basically, one of them was kind of, the head was rounded off a little bit, so I thought I'm going to try and get the whole thing out and I'll put it in a vise. So that's why I'm kind of having to wiggle this around a little bit, try and figure out which is what, how it goes in. A couple coolant hoses I don't want to take off because I don't want to lose coolant and have to bleed the system, but it was able to wiggle it out, as you see. Turn it this way, turn it that way. It's kind of a puzzle, but it did come out whole. So those are the 2 bolts left on there, and they're 8 millimeter bolts. So I'm going to start on the one side here first, and of course this one was not really a big deal. They're fairly tight in there, but it was this other one. This one, the head is stripped. I don't know, somebody must have played with it at one time or changed the EGR quite a while ago and reused the bolts. I don't know, my new kit came with all new bolts and gaskets, and hopefully yours does as well. So getting these guys out of here, they're a little long, but not impossible to do. And maybe I'll save the one of them, but the other one, this one here, it's going to try with the vice grips. I thought, is it stripped in there? You could break them off because all we need is this tube. So if they did bust, as long as we don't break the tube, we're reusing the tube, not the bolts. But like I say, it came with some new ones, and once I loosened it with the vice grips, I was able to get it out. I'll just toss that one. That'll go into the scrap bin instead of the reuse the bolt thing for something else, you know, your little bolt jar. It was pretty dirty, so I thought, oh, I'm going to take it to my wire wheel and just clean it up a little bit. Some of the gasket seats on there a little better. And I guess like you could use whatever you want to try and scrape whatever kind of dirt or whatever is on there. Hopefully your metal gasket will fit in there right. It came with this little baggie with all the new parts, so that's nice. So I'm going to just put the bolts through this one gasket. This is this little one that we just took the bolts out of. Just so then it holds the gasket in there. And I'm going to just put a teeny bit of anti-seize on it. Just so that next time, if there's a next time, this has got a lot of miles in it already. If there is a next time, it'll come off even easier. Make sure that's nice and clean. Make sure that my anti-seize doesn't get smeared in there. And put the bolts back in. So you know how to put bolts on. These need to be torqued though, and they're not super tight. We're going to torque them to the spec, and the spec is 106 inch-pounds. You can see how it clicks pretty quick. It's not overly tight. Double check it. Yeah. I'll try and squeeze it back in there. Thread it through all the hoses. Let's get you in a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. That's where it's bolting up to. You want to make sure that is fairly clean as well. And there's the top. And some of this is all going to have to go in behind all those hoses. So let's see if we can try from a different angle here. See a little bit of guck in here, carbon, whatever it is. So I'm just going to try and scrape some of it out as best I can. And hopefully that's going to help. If you want, if I wouldn't mind, can you give me the thumbs up? That way YouTube will know I'm doing as good a job as I can and these instructions are helpful to you. Hopefully you've learned something already. Remember 2 skippable chapters if you want to go into the next part. So the bottom piece here now has also got a gasket, a metal gasket that's going to squish. And the bolts, as they go through that, they kind of hold in there a little bit too. So I'm going to pre-bolt them, pre-thread them, I guess maybe is the wording. That way I can just not have to worry about bolts falling out or that gasket. Now, looping it through all this again is going to be fun, but it's not going to take that long to do. It's going to take a little bit of time, but once you figure out which way, I just need it all behind these couple hoses. And if I had 2 hands, if I wasn't holding the camera with one hand, this would have been in there already. But you'll just kind of see how some of the issues I was having. Get that under there. And then try and pull it back up because this one goes into the top. Remember the long one? So I'm just going to kind of position it there and see if all the hoses are fitting right or not. Then that bottom piece has a place to go as well. Oh, maybe I'm going to try it under this other hose. Fairly soft, so it makes it not too hard to do. And again, if you had 2 hands, it'd be easy. Super easy to do. So just about have it ready to position. I'm just putting in the top hole there, which gives me a guide for the bottom ones. You can see they're going to line up too. Could always start threading one in the bottom if I wanted. And that's what I'm going to try and do. See if I can just get it just to position there a little bit. Once I have one positioned, I can either attack it from the top or I can just continue with the bottom here. I'm going to use, try and tighten it or snug it up with my thumb ratchet here again. These are really, really handy for tight spaces. That way you don't have like a handle going back and forth hitting stuff. I had to use a little bit of a extension on these, just a short one. Once I got those all in there and got them snugged up, then we can go and work on the top one here. They're going to be torqued as well, so don't need them super tight. Now this top one here, remember those little bolts we had, 8mm. They're almost like a screw, like a sheet metal screw. Get those in there with this nice little tool. Again, I used a little extension just to give me some room. I think this one, yeah, this is a 3/8 with a 1/4 inch adapter. I think I'm using a 1/4 inch socket. Now I'm going to do the torquing. Again, this is not much. 45 inch-pounds. You'll see it's not much of pressure, and it's going into a plastic piece, I believe. That intake's plastic, so you don't want to over torque them because you'll be breaking them or stripping them. Now these bottom ones, we're going to set these to 23 foot-pounds. Foot-pounds. I'm using this electronic torque wrench. Kind of handy. This one does a whole bunch of different specs, foot-pounds, inch-pounds, Newton meters. Does something else maybe too. So of course, most of the stuff that I'm doing here in Canada, inch pounds or foot pounds. And we'll see how this one works. So it's 23 foot-pounds or 31.18 Newton meters. So I know some will ask me that question. So I figured this time I'll look it up. Now, we got some hoses to hook up here, and this, so those two should be fairly easy to do. Not that other one. I've got a third one, a mystery hose. It's like, what is this? I never unplugged this. I was trying to figure out, did I? Didn't I? Because there's this big guy. Yeah, okay, that goes on here. You can't mix those two up. But then if we look at this one, with that little end in it, what is that? I also noticed there's a clip here holding one of the other hoses to another hose. So let's put those together. I don't know if I unclipped that earlier or not. It's an older vehicle, so other people have been in here too. That's going to be my excuse. But this mystery hose, I know I did not unhook this. And I'll show you where it goes because you're probably going to have the same problem. Oh, let's not forget to put our connector on or we're going to have some issues with this thing running later. So the connector, no big deal other than there's this little, what do we want to call it? It's like a safety catch on it as well, little red tab. So I want to make sure it's popped all the way out like that to your left. And then once we hook your connector back up, now you'll want to stick your finger in behind there and push that little red tab towards you. So I'm going to try and do it. Ah, you see that? There you go. And it's locked in there now. Those are fun to get out. Hopefully you didn't break yours. Now, before I forget too, we got this mystery hose. What is this with this little vent here? The hose is only so long, and I'm trying to figure out where does it plug in. I tried here, tried there. I tried everywhere. I tried looking up online, but I didn't really know the name of this hose, so it's like, how do you find a definition to something if you don't know what it is? So eventually I did what I had to do, called in a favor, talked to a buddy of mine, showed him a picture of it, and he says that's a vent tube for transaxle or something like that. So at least I knew what I was looking for, and there it is right here. Just by your block heater, actually. That's what that red cord is, just below the screwdriver. This thing was pretty much hidden under that shield, and that wouldn't even have seen it if I wasn't looking in that area. And I just slipped it back on. I think it's going to hang on. There's no heavy pressure. That should work out good. Now, I think that's all hooked up and ready to go. Yeah, this is where it goes, down, around, and takes a sharp left. And it's plugged in there. Now, I'm going to try and put this computer, or whatever this is, back together, just two bolts, before we do the rest of our stuff here. If you did take this apart, you know where these bolts are, right? There's that one right here on the stud. And then there's one towards the back here, which is a bolt that goes in there, is it? Yes. So let's get those back on. I'm going to have to wiggle this thing to get it all to fit. So wiggle that to fit. So we'll try and put this bolt in here. Actually, I thought, that would be easy to lose. Let's see what the thread is on it. It's an M6 1.0. Just in case you lose it. That way you'll know what the thread is. It's a metric. A lot easier if you know what it fits before you start buying a bunch of little bolts somewhere. A lot of auto stores will have them. You tell them what it is. And then we have this one in the back as well. And I'm imagining it's the same thread. Just it's in the bolt size instead of a nut. Get that tightened up. Make sure anything else that was plugged in is plugged back in if you unhooked anything. I'm just snugging them up pretty good. Now we've got our air filter box housing. That was the bolt that goes in there. And that second one didn't come out because of the way it was sitting. And this is how they sit in there. And I think what the problem is, I'll show you on the other side. That one, which we'll take out, probably could have just left it in there. Uses that socket, remember that funny looking socket? Once you take it out, it looks like the rubber piece that it goes into is stripped or broken or something. So I'll show you as I get it out of here. how it fits. I thought it fit from the top, but actually I think it stays inside and it pops in somehow like this. And if it was new, that's how it fit, but I think when I tighten it up, it's just going to want to strip through the rubber again. But whatever, we'll just be gentle with it. So I'm going to try and put it in, line those holes up down on the frame, and push this top piece in here too, so those holes line up. That's where it sucks the fresh air, just from under the hood a little bit. This was a little bit hard to line up. It almost seemed like, was this an accident at one time? It might have been, who knows. Get those put back in there, those two. I'm just going to snug them. The box won't be going anywhere. And then of course we've got this wiring harness that's got to clip back in to the box here. And again, if I would have had two hands, I could have done it easily, but holding, I got a wire in the way, don't want to wreck that or forget about it. So you just sprayed it with some WD-40, nice little lubricant there, and it pretty much popped in. Much easier anyway. Well, plus two hands. Two hands always helps. That's what it looks like in there, in case you have any trouble with that. Now, what's next? We've got these square holes in the back here. That's where the top's going to clip into. Don't want to forget that wire too. I cleaned that off a little bit. It's our air filter. It's pretty clean yet. It just had some leaves stuck in there. Those little fingers go on the back. So you try and line them up and push down a little bit. You might have to wiggle it. Make sure it sits down nice, and then we're going to clip the front down. It should fit properly. It shouldn't really have to force it down at all. And just kind of, you might have to push the middle of it. They're little unclipped. And this other side, oh, got it stuck under there. There we go. And with a lot of force in the middle, sometimes you can, if you're careful, you can use the screwdriver and pop it up like that. There you go. What's left? And we have a bolt. Oh, yeah, let's hook these tubes back up. We've got this connector for whatever the sensor is. Either it's a mass airflow or a map sensor. I never looked it up to see what it was exactly, but that'll click in there. This air tube goes to your intake from this air box here. Again, two hands would be easier to unscrunch the hose. Should sit on there properly, make sure it's all covering. And then we have the hose, this is a PCV valve, I guess. They go into the box. And then we're just going to snug them up with our screwdriver. Once you have that done, we can just about say we're done. I haven't tried starting this set to see how it's going to go. We're probably going to have to clear some codes maybe too. Although, remember, our battery's been unhooked this whole time, so that might actually clear the codes on its own. We got this last bolt here. Try and line it up. Get it down there. Make it snug. Oh, and then we've got this clip too. It's a two-piece. Remember, that's the one that I was having such a hard time getting it out of there. If you'd like more videos on this vehicle, top right-hand corner, there's a card with the yellow arrows pointing to, and you click on there, you'll see more of the Dodge Journey or Fiat FITMENT playlist. A whole bunch of repair things there. That clips in, and this goes in the middle to hold it in. That's done. What else we have to do here? We got this cover yet to put back on. That's fairly simple. At least we think so. So it's got these four holes here that are going to go into four fingers with little balls in the end, remember? I'll show you a little closer. And it just pops in there and is held on. There's also two at the back. So it really only goes on one way. It's to figure out exactly where they are when you are looking from the top of the cover. But if you try and kind of line it up a little bit, that makes it a little easier. And they should just click on. Might have to move it left and right a little bit. Might even have to wiggle it up and down a little bit. While you're watching that, how about subscribing if you haven't subscribed before? Bottom right hand corner, where you should be able to click. You'll get all my videos when a new one comes out, and we try and get them out fairly regularly. So once that's clipped in there and you're sure it's in there, and one way to make sure that you're sure is just see the way it's all sitting. If your well cap fits the right place and these hoses are, have a little bit of space around them and it seems to be locked down, you should be good to go. Just don't want it rattling. It just makes the engine sound a little quieter. Finally, we've got our negative cable. Ooh, scared me when it sparked. 15 millimeter. Put that on and then use a wrench and tighten it nice and tight. And that should be it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped you.